Aloha headsets, Frank here. Take what I'm about to tell you and share it with the world. I've noticed a lot of tentativeness lately regarding the PlayStation VR, and although some of it is fair, like the lackluster launch titles and hand-me-down hardware, I still truly believe that we have something amazing on our hands. So, I hate to be the conspiracy type, but I think there's something you're not seeing. Alright, first and foremost, look at the ads we've seen thus far. Well, lack thereof. Other than the Christmas ad from Europe, I haven't seen a single bit of media advertising the PlayStation VR since launch. Now, some might say this is because they already decided they don't want to support it. But do you really think that sounds like a logical conclusion? Why on earth would a company that has been working years on something just decide 3 months in that they would call it quits? I believe that initial demand was much higher than they intended, and a lack of stock, pushing ads right now wouldn't do them any good. Now, talking about ads leads us into the stock issue. There is an extremely high interest. I can't go 5 minutes without seeing a post about where can I buy a PSVR or PlayStation VR is completely sold out near me. Consumers want to get their hands on this product, and if Sony kept hyping something that is nearly impossible to purchase at the moment, it would only be detrimental for them in the end. It's safe to say PlayStation 4 is one of the best-selling products on the market, and I'm sure the factories pumping those out are the exact same ones pushing out VR units. So, do you really see Sony slowing down production on their best-selling device to make room for an untested new peripheral? No way. But now that they're seeing a public reaction, I'm sure they're beginning to divert some resources to make up for the increased demand. Please be patient. In all honesty, they are probably diverting stocks to China, and I'm okay with that. They've only been allowed consoles for a little over a year now, and I think they deserve it. Now, I know what you're saying to yourself. Frank, I keep hearing the PlayStation VR lacks in content. Why would anyone want to shell out money for that? Well, to start things off, I personally believe the available content is amazing. To be honest, this really isn't a new console. This is a premium peripheral, and knowing that, I'm overwhelmed at the amount of choices I already have. Sure, a lot of the experiences are a bit short, but the price reflects that. I think there are only 3 full-price PSVR titles, and the rest are pretty much all $20 and below. I see no issues at this point. Now, if we don't see any more releases a year down the line, we'll talk then. Also, when it comes to content, I don't think we should judge the PSVR by this first wave of games. I remember a year or so before release that a big deal was developers worried that everyone who tried a unit on would get motion sickness. I think those fears have manifested themselves in the form of weird controller schemes, strange camera movement, and stationary positioning. The first wave of games tested the water, and now I'm sure most of the devs are sitting back and reading exactly how we feel about everything. Trust me, this is new territory. They're listening, and I pray they take our input seriously and this second wave of titles blows us out of the water. Now, content is nothing without creators, and I think we need to give all the VR devs a round of applause. Sure, we've seen one studio close, but think of the countless studios that close all the time. This one just happened to be the creator of Rigs. It's been a tough year for everyone, and I don't think one studio closing should warrant any reason for the barrage of doomsday articles with clickbait titles. Now, I'm not a dev, but I can only assume that it's at least somewhat more difficult to make something that runs on PSVR. At the very least, there must be a learning curve. If all we do is hate on the products, how can companies grow? Sure, we haven't seen tons of AAA developers hopping on a VR bandwagon, but is that necessarily a bad thing? Do you really want to keep playing the same games over and over again just in a new format? Or would you rather support some small team of people just as passionate about gaming as you that are trying to stand out by working their asses off to give us some amazing VR content? I truly believe VR will usher in an indie revolution, and I couldn't be more excited. These studios may be drops of water in a bucket right now, but just watch. I have a strong suspicion that the killer app is going to come out of nowhere and will be delivered in the hands of an underdog. Now, talking about killer apps, we are less than a week away from one of the most anticipated games this year. Not to mention the title is fully compatible with the PlayStation VR. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, I think you know I'm talking about Resident Evil 7. For those of you concerned with length, we're looking at 10 plus hours. And for those of you angry about quality, just take a look at the demo. This game looks amazing, and I'm so anxious to get my hands on the full release. Now, if this game is as successful as I'm thinking it will be, the sales numbers for headsets will drastically increase, and interest in VR development will skyrocket. And if someone as big as Capcom, with a title as important as Resident Evil, can do it, other companies better take note. Now, let's say, worst case scenario, it does horribly, or the media spins it as a terrible experience until the timed exclusivity is up and Microsoft remarkets it as a better experience. It won't kill the PSVR. Sure, it may slow down development, but interest will still be there, and it's just the beginning of the year, and more importantly, the beginning of the PlayStation VR's lifespan. Finally, put all those games, hardware, and limitations aside, the stories that I keep hearing about users' experiences with the PlayStation VR are proof enough that we have something amazing here. Every day I hear about someone wheelchair bound that can finally experience something new. I hear about autistic children learning to speak to others more comfortably with werewolves within. I hear about grandparents that forever dreamed of a virtual world blown away by this future tech. And most importantly, I hear stories of families actually coming together for a change and spending quality time in front of the television. All of these stories are what truly make me believe that we have something special on our hands. I haven't felt this amazed by a device since I was 6 years old and I got my hands on my first Sega. It's brought that wide-eyed child back out in me, and I can't thank Sony enough. Plus, both Rift and Vive users are seeing the exact same drought when it comes to quality titles. And to be honest, we have far more full polished experiences. So, even if you go out and spend thousands of dollars on a high-end VR rig, you're not really missing out on all that much, which is pretty amazing considering the hardware is only around $400. Add to that the fact that PSVR still hasn't been released in some part of the world. Add to that the fact that PSVR still hasn't been released in some parts of the world, and I believe the Chinese bundle sales will be the boost Sony and developers need at the moment to help calm their worries about the lack of return on investments. We finally have actual sales numbers in March, so any numbers being thrown around right now are just speculation. Please, headsets, don't be sheep. Don't just blindly agree with doomsday articles. I mean, come on. It has seriously only been 3 months and people are already acting like the medium is dying. If anything, I think PSVR might be the one headset that can help VR become mainstream. Don't forget, there are over 50 million PS4s out there in the wild, so it's not like we're lacking the install base. It may take a little time, but personally, everyone that has demoed my unit was blown away. On top of all that, Microsoft has their own VR units coming out soon. With a company as large and millions being spent on VR, do you really think they don't have a PR machine helping to slow down interest in PlayStation VR? It happens all the time. And honestly, knowing how large VR is going to be, if I were them, I would probably try to do the same thing. VR is here to stay. There is no denying that. Now it's just a matter of where the consumer is going to invest. Let's say you watch this video and decide, hey, I think VR is cool. I have a PlayStation. I should check that PSVR out. And you get your next paycheck and you go to the store and you buy yourself that PlayStation VR. Do you really think that in a few months you're going to want to reinvest in a Microsoft headset? No way. And I know that as well. So maybe I'm wrong. But more importantly, just don't trust everything you read. I have no reason to lie to you. I'm just some guy that loves his PlayStation VR. But honestly, don't trust me either. Go out there and demo a unit. See if one of your friends has one. Try it for yourself. And if you do get one, just take a deep breath and experience the damn games. Don't go into them with any expectations. Just let them take you away. Now, before I leave you, one last little rant. Don't forget, the media would rather you sell your PlayStation VR and buy something else than actually enjoy your purchase. It is their job to keep people on the edge of their seats and wanting the next big thing. or more expensive version. On top of all that, I'm sure legacy developers that don't want anything to do with VR aren't helping. If this medium takes off, they may actually have to make something rather than just update graphics and give us more of the same. So, please don't add to all the toxic discussions, and please don't spread misinformation. Instead, why not try and be constructive for a change? Get on Twitter. Write the developers. These indie guys will actually respond to you. Tell them what you think. Don't just say you want this and that and then do nothing but whine on a message board. All that's gonna do is set things back. This could be a new generation for gaming, and I, for one, actually want to see it succeed. Well, that's it for this one. Please don't forget to share this with everyone you know. And if you agree with me, or you have something to add, or you disagree, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up. And if you want to stay up to date on everything PlayStation VR and you don't mind this ugly mug, friggin' subscribe! And I'm serious, share this thing.